All right, what's going on, family? So, I'm here making my YouTube videos, and I turn on DJ Academics live stream to have something playing in the background. And I come across him talking about the top 25 hip hop media personalities. And I was confused. I was perplexed. I was befuddled. Maybe it's too complex for me. Uh, see what I did there? But shout out to J. Cole. But the criteria that they listed, in particular, the criteria of having star power come on your outlet to be a top media personality, didn't really jive up with what they had at the top of the list, right? So shout out to academics. I actually think he should be near the top of the list. I mean, he's definitely doing his thing. So if I don't have a problem with him, I have a problem with Joe Budden. Now, Complex, I know you guys said that you want to remove all bias from the list. That's listed here as well. Don't you think it's a little bit biased that the top two personalities are former employees? Like, that's like dislocating your shoulder because you're patting yourself on the back. Like, hey, if you want to be great, if you want to be one of the top media personalities in the game, work for Complex. If you don't want someone all in the videos, all in the records, all in the hooks, come to Complex. Like, but that's besides the point. So, hey, their criteria that they listed is very subjective, right? They have integrity of content, they have virality of moments, they have commentary and banter. Those are all subjective, but star power, that's an objective thing. Like if you're a hip hop fan, you know who the stars in the game are. And I don't think it can be debated that Joe Budden's podcast lacks star power. So I think if you grade Joe Budden's podcast, he gets an F for star power. I mean, he does not really interview hip hop artists at all. He interviews other media members. You'll have Noriega, Adam 22, academics on his podcast, but they all do that. They all do the circling firing squad of they all come on each other's podcast. So that's not really that big of a thing, right? You would need hip hop artists to come on. If you compare him to a Gillian Wallow, you compare him to a Vlad, you compare him to an academics, to a Charlemagne, I mean, he comes out with an F. And how can someone be a valedictorian of a class if they're getting an F in the subject? That just doesn't make sense. Like, if you look at his podcast for the last year, the biggest artists that he's had come on are Don Tolliver, Hit Boy, and Jadakiss. And shout out to Jadakiss. He's top 5 dead and alive. He did another podcast talking about all the opportunities that he's gotten since the verses. So shout out to him. But if you look at it, that doesn't really stack up to the other guys. Like, again, how can you be a valedictorian of a class if you get an F in the subject? And the math not mathing. Let me try to do the math right now on my calculator. So, I'm adding this. Okay, let me add in the myriad, add in the patterning. Okay, let me carry the one. You see, I'm still getting an error. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm actually a fan of Joe Budden. Don't let this be an attack on Joe Budden. If you think he's a top media personality in the game, I wouldn't even argue with you. But what I'm saying is with what they listed as their criteria, it does not make sense to have someone who does not have star power on his podcast. And he'll tell you that he doesn't really like to speak to artists. If you list that as a criteria, you can't have someone who does not have it to be the number one guy. That just doesn't make sense. Again, he's a talented guy. I think talent wins out. He's had a lot of kerfuffles and ups and downs in his career, and he still rise to the top. There hasn't been a scenario that he's had where there's been a breakup that he still hasn't fallen on his feet. He's a testament to hard work and talent always winning out. But again, with the criteria that they listed, the one objective thing that they have on their criteria, star power of guest, he's an F. And if you have an F in the class, you cannot be the valedictorian. That's just basic math. This is perplexing me. Maybe it's too complex for me, but it does not make sense. All right, so leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. And as always, the game is the game.